Okay, hey, welcome everybody to what is hopefully the first of a new series of interviews with some of the indie comic creators in our community. I'm CBB, and tonight I'm joined by the creative team from the indie comic The Grim Reaper. Yeah, thanks for being here today, guys. Why don't you go ahead and tell everybody who's going to watch this who you guys are.
Well, thanks for having us. We're really glad to be here. My name is Gallagher. I am the writer and the creator of The Grim Reaper. And this lovely lady here is my wife, Carla Tornielli. Introduce yourself.
Hello guys, I am the artist, illustrator of the Green Reaper, and I'm also
So yeah, we're the husband and wife team behind it. And this is our baby, this is our comic book baby. So we're very proud of it.
I just want to tell you, man, I just want to tell you, you are one of those guys that everybody's going to envy because, like, you basically hit the lottery and found a woman who's into everything that you are, the same thing. She's into the same things you are,
and that does this work for free. Let's not forget about that. Yeah. Because
but
illustrators are not cheap. You know what I mean?
Oh no, man! I'm actually. Yeah, I'm an art guy. I'm an art guy myself. Unfortunately, I'm a very, very slow artist. But yeah, I know. Like one of the things that, and that's actually something. One of the questions I'm going to ask you guys in a little bit here is putting a book putting one of these books together, man. Like it's from everybody that I've talked to, it's difficult. Like I do a wrestling podcast with Antonio Bryce, who did Brand.
Yep.
And like just talking to him and picking his brain, and he's like, just there's so many things. You think you're ready. You think you know exactly what you're going to do. You think you know what you need and everything. And then you start doing it and you're like, oh my God, there's so much more into it that I just never realized goes into making a comic book. But speaking of which, go ahead and tell us about your project. Tell us about the Grim Reaper.
Yes, for sure. So this is the Grim Reaper, guys. This is an idea that is born from inspiration that we drew inspiration from cosmic horror, a lot of action, and a little bit of a superhero genre, especially from like the Vertigo kind of comics, from that brand of DC, the Vertigo, like more adult themed comics that explore kind of more taboo subjects such as suicide and things like that. And we actually we're kind of having another take on the character of Death, the Grim Reaper, the man with the hat. This is an entity, this is a cosmic entity, the personification of death itself. But this time we explore it as more of a person, right? So death is a title, is a mantle that gets passed from one person to another. And this time, this iteration of this character is actually going to be the Red Baron from World War One. The Red Baron, the famous pilot.
Mm-hmm.
When he gets shot down, he gets visited by the Angel of Death, and he gets offered to become the Grim Reaper as penance for his sins, and he accepts it. So he becomes the Grim Reaper, and we kind of take him on the hero journey to see where that leads him in his human side and his human perspective. Now that he has all of these powers and basically authority over life and death, and it's a great character to explore because we can put him in every situation, in everything possible. Obviously, everybody encounters death one way or another, but we still keep in mind that he's the hero of the story. Of course, he will encounter some conflict and things like that, but it was definitely a very exciting and original character to explore for sure. You know what I mean? The kind of like the main plot of the story is that there's a group of scientists who are trying to find, they use cryonics, which is basically freezing people after they die in the hopes of waking them up in the future or kind of resuscitating them in the future. And so they find a way to do that. And that, of course, messes up with the balance in the universe and things like that. And so the Grim Reaper is not happy about it. He has to confront them. He has to find a way to stop them from basically creating a Frankenstein monster, which is eventually what they end up doing. So we explore all these things. You know what I mean? There's plenty of action. There is plenty of even philosophy. There's a lot of stuff in here that I definitely enjoy. That I'm a big fan of. There's horror and it's just fun. You know what I mean? We kind of try to steer clear from all the politics and all the nonsense of comics nowadays, and just sticking to making comics that are fun entertaining and good characters that are relatable and that we can enjoy. You know what I mean? And adventures that we can enjoy. So that's basically what we're all about right here.
Yeah, you had me at Lovecraftian horror, man.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Lovecraft fan, but I'm just going through and I'm looking at some of the concept art here, and like you said, you guys are a husband and wife team here,
Yeah.
and Carla, you're the main artist on this, correct?
Yes. This first issue, I worked in collaboration like with a co-illustrator. His name is Santiago Gutierrez. He was in charge of like these character designs and some of the layouts. But yeah, I am the main artist, the colorist, the letterer, and the inker, and well, basically everything else. I come from a very strong manga background, so this was the first time for me drawing Western comics. It was a huge like change of style for me. Now I'm more used to it, but at that moment, yeah, it was a big change. But I'm happy with the result.
Sorry, I'm just typing something in here real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, look, in the super chat, they are saying, sounds like a cool premise, good pitch. They like
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually one of the reasons why I contacted you, because like I said, I was listening to you guys when you were on Angus's stream, and I said this is a pretty cool premise. I really like the Manfred here. Now that's the Grim Reaper, right?
That is the Grim Reaper. Yeah, of course you'll have a big
Okay.
reveal at the end. Don't know what more or less the Grim Reaper looks like from
Mhm.
lore and things like that. But we wanted to get that mysterious side of him. Where does he come from? What does he do? Why is he the angel of death? You know what I mean? And what kind of toll would that take on a being? You know what I mean? On being the basically in charge of who lives and who dies. And apart from that, and the character that you're on right now is that the Grim Reaper in this book, in this story, has children, and these children kind of represent different ways in which people die. Like that one, for example, is Themis, and she is like the beautiful death. She represents peaceful deaths and people who just die of old age. Peacefully at home, things like that. You know what I mean? And they represent different aspects of that. Those were really awesome characters to explore as well. And to play with a lot. So yeah, definitely give it a go if you're into, like you said, Lovecraftian horror and just action and fun comics. And obviously support your indie creators for sure. That's her too, and that's the pinup. That's actually the pinup that comes with the book.
You made a fan out of John immediately. But so basically, his each of his kids, they kind of act as his intermediaries for different types of death.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
That's basically what they are. We kind of tease it at the end that there is more of his children that are kind of that were vanquished because they were just so reckless, and we see that they are immature, still growing up, kind of figuring out who they are and things like that. And they get into some reckless trouble throughout the book as well. But they were so much fun to explore and to play with these concepts and to make them into a person. What would they be like and how would they
I like them because they have very like strong personalities. They are very different one from the others. So I think that the characters are very well built. Like not only because of their looks, but their personalities, how they talk, like how they speak. Like I don't know. I really like how the characters are built, are very solid. I think.
When and this is touching upon what you were talking earlier, that what you were saying earlier, that it's a blessing to have obviously a good communication with your artist when you're the writer, and to have good understanding between the two. Now, when the artist and the writer live together, it's a whole different story because we can definitely correct each other's mistakes and we can put to give each other input that is valuable to the book and to the creation of this all the time. You know what I mean? I mean, there will be times where we're sleeping in the middle of the night and one or the other will wake up and tell each other an idea that we would use. So,
Honey, wake up! I've got an idea.
Right.
Yeah. Too much communication.
In our case, yes, but yeah, but with this, when the writing, when she says that everybody has such marked personalities, is like, when I first wrote the first draft, she wasn't quite convinced because she was like, everybody sounds the same. So if you wanna build a world where you can distinguish one character from the other, you definitely wanna make him sound unique. So that's something I definitely struggled with at first, and I worked hard to, and I learned how to, different techniques and different ways to make him sound different. And then she came in and even enhanced that even more by giving each of the characters their own font and their own little speech bubble things that make them unique, not only in the looks but in the way they talk. So that way you can recognize them and you can see the personalities, and that way they become more relatable, and not so robotic, and the story itself flows better. So I think it's a great story, and definitely the art speaks for itself. So it's something I'm very proud of, and it was a passionate project. It was a passion project that we are definitely very excited about. It was great that we got to fund it. You know what I mean, fully funded. But it was even better when we fulfilled it, because definitely this was not about the money, but more about getting eyes on it, and getting our comics out there for people, and entertain them. You know what I mean? That's what we're all about.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm so happy because here Dealer draws says I can actually draw. So thank you, Dealer. Thank you for that. Yeah.
John's a good artist, man. So he would know. I don't know if you guys have checked out his. He's got the project he's doing called the Canadian Buckler, which is it's kind of a dark comedy thing. Yeah, it's a fun thing. I'm gonna try and bring him on at one point and talk to him about it. But
awesome.
I agree with you with when you're talking about the characters, and one of the problems that seems to be permeating in a lot of mainstream comics is so many characters just sound exactly like each other. They have no personality, and like you said, when she came in and gave them their own font, and that's working on giving them their own voice,
right?
And making them seem like people, which is incredibly important.
Right.
It's not just from a story standpoint, but from a visual standpoint.
Yeah, visual storytelling, the art is just so much. It's just such a big percentage of it. You know what I mean? Obviously, the writing it's important, but the writing is much more important for the artist, I will say, because that's what they base what they're working on. But really, what the reader and the first thing they see is what's happening visually, right? Then they read the speech bubbles or the dialogues or the little story squares or whatever. But definitely with the story, this symbiotic relationship has to be on point.
But like I was thinking right now, maybe like from the artist perspective, I don't know if it's the same for the writer's perspective, but I believe that there are really, really cool character designers and amazing designs that you're like, oh, this is so interesting. But the characters normally don't have like a strong background. Like, for example, in Japan, it's this tendency of making really cool looking characters, and they make all kinds of merchandise with them. And if they are successful because people like how they look, after that they invent a story, a background for them, and they put some weird excuse as a story, but based on the looks of the character. And it's supposed to be the other way around, I believe. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
In my opinion,
I get what you're saying. Like they need to look like they fit into the world that they're existing in.
Right. It has to have a purpose. You know what I mean? It has to have a purpose for sure. It's like the same thing with the action. You know what I mean? If it's just nothing but constant action for the sake of action and just for the sake of looking cool, it doesn't really make any sense if you're not invested in the characters that are doing the action. You know what I mean? So when it comes to writing, for sure, you don't just want to write action and cool looking scenes and cool looking stuff and just epicness just for the sake of doing it.
That would be superficial.
You know what I mean? Of course, and then people get bored of it super quick. Like it's the same thing with like movies nowadays. And
I was just gonna say a good example of that would be Captain Marvel.
Right, exactly. You have some flashy stuff that looks amazing and it's visually striking.
Or just because she's a woman, or just because she's that, and the tags and the superficial, and the surface of but there's no actual, substance.
You don't really invest in them because they're not related. But not only they're not relatable, they don't have to be exactly like you, but they're just not likable, or you just don't care enough for them because they haven't been developed properly. So that was
it's a facade with a collection of tropes.
Exactly. And with comics and stuff, because you don't have that much, you don't have that much time as a movie. You know what I mean? Because well, how long does it take you to read a comic that's 36 pages, like the case of the Grim Reaper, as opposed to a movie that's 2 hours? You have much more time to develop a character. So it's fast paced. Yeah, when writing a comic book, it's fast paced. But even though it's fast paced, you have to try your hardest and your best to develop them well, even if that means sacrificing a little bit of action or epicness. But at the end, make that epic scene or that
more
epic fight scene or whatever just make sense and fit in what was happening.
You have a question?
Okay. Real quick, I got a question from Muttman here. How did y'all come up? I'm sorry. I was reading that with a Southern accent because I'm an idiot. How did you choose the Red Baron as the main character, and is the story set in modern times?
Yeah, well, so the story is set in modern times. I think the Red Baron, first, to me, I'm just such a history buff, and I just love everything history so much that it was a no-brainer. I wanted somebody from that period of time, specifically World War I, because I love that period of time. And mostly it's because surrounding the Red Baron itself, not only so much mysticism, which is the same thing with the Grim Reaper. There's this dark character that you don't really, you know what I mean? At first, you see this man in the hat that's all dark, it's all black. You don't really see anything, barely see his eyes. You know what I mean? And it was a good allegory to what the soldiers on the ground must have felt when this guy was just dropping bombs on them, or when they were fighting in the air. It's this invincible person that basically became a legend nobody could get to. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how we felt like the Grim Reaper is. In this universe, is just this myth that is this dark myth that knows is the bearer of death and the bearer of destruction. But you know what I mean? Nobody can do anything about it. And so that's basically why I chose him. It's just because of the mythology surrounding this historical character, and just because I like him, and he's just a cool person from history. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you ever? You said you're a mystery buff. Do you ever listen to any history buff? You said, have you ever listened to any of those history podcasts like History on Fire and?
Yes. I do listen to that a lot on YouTube, and I'll tell you, YouTube is giving me really good ideas and inspiration. I would be lying if I didn't tell you they did. Definitely, communication is changing, man, and we get so much more information nowadays. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I grew up back when we had rotary telephones, man. It's like nowadays you got everything at the tip of your fingers. So
yeah, for sure.
It's pretty awesome. So was this your first comic project, or have you done something in the past?
No, this was our first. My first campaign.
Mine too.
You were your first campaign too.
Yeah.
But we actually, when we met, we were actually working on something else. But that's on hold for now because the story is still kind of developing, and
it's
you guys will find out later. But yeah, for sure, this was our first one, and I'm proud of how it came out.
Cool. So this is we talked about some of the things that you guys experienced in crowdfunding. Crowdfunding exploded exploded in the last 8 to 10 years, and while it's created a level of accessibility to the comic industry that we've never seen before, there's still a lot of stumbling blocks and mistakes that can be made. Did you guys experience any of this? And if so, what advice would you give to any new creators who are starting their first crowdfunding campaign, and what to and what not to do?
Well, that one's tough. The experience with crowdfunding was great. I loved it. I think it's a great way to sticking it to the man too. You know what I mean? Because nowadays you have these mainstream basically lunatics that are just controlling every form of entertainment and just pushing their agendas, and it's boring and it's almost inescapable in a way. Like everywhere you go, everything you used to love, like movie franchises and comics even, have been infected by It's nonsense, and there seems to be no way to hide from it. So to me, crowdfunding is just such a great to go independent, to go your own way, and to make it on your own, and just getting rid of that middleman and just go straight to the fans and find out what people really like, what people are into, and just provide it to them if you have it. You know what I mean? Which is our case. For all the small creators out there, I'll tell you, man, just try it. You know what I mean? Don't hesitate. If you're planning on getting a project out there, if you have a good idea and you have a way to get it, put it out there and make it happen. Make your dreams happen, because it's worth it. It's worth it. In the end, I'll tell you, this was so fulfilling for me, and I know for you too, because you tell me all the time. This was such a great experience. Just not only because of the comics we sold and the money we have made, but also because of the people we to meet. This great community like Comics Kid, and everybody who's into comics, and everybody's come out of the woodworks to help us out and push this project. We couldn't be more thankful. So if you have a project and you're honest about fulfilling it, because obviously don't try to screw people over. I mean, if you have a comic and you actually plan on delivering it, or you have any idea from entertainment in general or for anything, and you plan on using crowdfunding, do it. Just do it. Just hit that launch button and promote the hell out of it. Don't ever stop promoting. Use Twitter. Don't use Facebook ads. They're worthless. Just use Twitter. You know what I mean? Talk to the people. Use YouTube as much as possible too. Twitter and YouTube are the biggest ones. Never ever stop promoting. And one thing I will say, this was because it was our first campaign. It was definitely a learning experience. So there were some things that for sure we have more in mind for the next upcoming campaigns and for the next things we do. Especially when it came to, this is gonna sound a little silly, but when it came to packaging and shipping, there was actually some tricks and things that we didn't know about, and we just kind of went ahead and did it because we were not ill advised, but nobody ever told us anything.
Yeah.
Not that they had to, but we didn't figure it out. We didn't think about it. And we sent it, and we got some feedback back, and now we know that what to do, what not to do regarding that. But every little aspect of this matters, and it's very important that you pay attention to all the little details, and that the most important thing is that you are honest and you are all about the customer at the end of the day, and your supporters, that you show them the same amount of love that they're showing you by supporting you. And if you do that, man, people will just pour and come out of nowhere and help you out.
Yeah, I have an advice like for the newest people ever, like want to start first time ever. Like, don't be too amused with the huge numbers you see in other campaigns. Like, everything comes with really hard work. If your motivation is money and it's not the comic in first place, I would recommend you not to do it. But if your priority is to make your comic known and just that, then I believe that's a good motivation, because I said like there's some kind of expectation of making huge numbers because it's easy, right? It's supposed to be easy. Well, actually, it's not that easy. Of course, you have to put your good amount of work and to start from the bottom.
Yeah.
And
there is no such thing as overexposure.
Exactly. And if you want to make money, like just do something else.
Yeah.
Well, that's like
motivation.
That's like and like I use Antonio a lot because he's the guy that I have the most access to. But the first time he tried to launch brand, it failed. You know, but then he just he took a step back, took a look at what he was doing wrong, worked on it, launched it again. He actually failed several times, and then finally this last time it hit big. So, but it's all about getting that exposure. It's all about building up your presence. And it's kind of like Henry Ford was famous for saying, build a great product and the rest will take care of itself.
Right. Well, in this day and age, everything is all about exposure and promoting yourself. Mm-hmm. And there's people who are really good at that. I am not so much. I try to do my best when it comes to sales pitches and just. But I'm more the mentality that if I do something good, it should sell. But it's not like that. You have to get it to people. Yeah. If they don't know about you, then they're missing out, and so are you at the end of the day.
It won't sell for itself.
But nowadays, really, you have so many tools, and believe me, on Twitter, on Twitter, people from Comicsgate and from other places. They just come out and help you out for free. Like it's amazing. People for free just come and promote the hell out of your book and get so many eyes on it, get so many likes and retweets. And believe me, all of that, even if you cannot contribute with any amount of money to any of these indie projects.
There's a lot of constructive people in this community. Yeah. They are awesome.
A retweet, a like, sending it to your friends and family makes a huge difference,
If you do things right, they will help you out and they will support you. So,
So, during one of the interviews you did before, you kind of compared your project to some existing comics. What were some of your influences, man? Like you mentioned a little bit of Ghost Rider in this and stuff like that. What were the comics that you were into?
Man.
It's like, do you have enough time?
Yeah. Where to start? But no, when I made the comparison to the Ghost Rider, it was mostly just aesthetically. I just think that the Grim Reaper looks a lot like him. I don't know if that's what they were intending at Marvel when they created it, to like kind of be this kind of Grim Reaper kind of thing, but it just looks like him. But I would say that story-wise and character-wise, I definitely drew a lot of inspiration from Neil Gaiman's The Sandman. That book to me, that whole series of books just remains to be like one of my favorites in comics, if not my favorite.
I love old school Vertigo, man.
Yes, they're just so great, such and I think the mysticism and a little bit of the horror aspect to it. That's where I draw my inspiration from. I love Alan Moore. Pretty much in everything he's done, from Miracle Man to the Swamp Thing to Watchmen. Love all that. And Hellboy, I love Hellboy. And Hellboy is one of those characters, just like the Grim Reaper, you can put him anywhere. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he will work out. So
and Mike Mignola's artwork is so good. Oh my god! Speaking of artwork, Carla, what were some of your what some of your influences, your inspirations? I mean,
well, as I told you, I come from manga, so I grew up reading Rumiko Takahashi. She's the creator of Inuyasha, Ranma.
Yes, Ranma One Half, one of my favorites.
Yes, my favorites too. High five! Woo! Yeah.
Unfortunately, she doesn't know how to end things.
Yeah. For me, Rumiko is the best. I have a strong influence from her. Also a little bit from Hiro Mashima, the creator of Fairy Tail. But after I tried to draw Western style comics, I had to like search for different influences and to mix them, like my own interpretation of what is Western comics to me. It still looks very manga-ish, but well, that's what turned out to be.
Yeah, there's a couple of there are some Western comic book artists who take a lot of their cues from manga, like Joe Mad for one is huge manga influence. If you look at his Battle Chaser series, it looks like it's almost straight from a manga. J. Scott Campbell's another one, and then there's
and also like the biggest challenge, it wasn't like a graphic challenge to do, because more or less if you practice, like you can get to draw differently. But the thing is the visual language you use when you draw Japanese style, because it's a reflection of the culture. It's not only just what you see, like it's how we express the emotions. For example, there are like these typical anime expressions, like when they are like feeling nervous or awkward, they have this sweat drop here, or when they get angry, they have the veins pop, and you don't use that here. And that's just a very graphic example I'm putting, but the whole language is so different. So I used to rely on those resources, and now I had to find a different way to do it. And for me, that was the biggest challenge, like the cultural undertone to it.
Yeah, manga and anime use a lot of visual cues.
Oh yeah,
a lot of visual cues to indicate what the emotion and whatnot is, and then in Western comics you don't get very much of that. One of the best, I'll just clue you in on one person that I look at a lot. Is Stefan Sejic. He actually has a Twitch channel that he does. He's the artist. He just did that Harleen series for DC, but he's famous. He has a book called Death Vigil. He's a digital artist, and one of the things that he does that's almost better than anybody else I know is doing facial expressions.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, definitely check him out if you for an idea, because but yeah, I get exactly what you're talking about. The difference between the two different mediums. It's little things that like a lot of the stuff still translates. Like anatomy and just like shading, lighting, those kind of things. But then there are just different little cultural visual cues that are different.
Yes, definitely, yeah.
But okay, so now that you got this comic has already been funded, and you guys are already in fulfillment on this one. So what's in store for the future? I know you guys have announced Grim Reaper 2.
Sir, actually, there on the private chat there is a link I share with you, and that is the mailing list for the pre-launch page or the kind of like a preview of what the Grim Reaper 2 is gonna look like. And we are already taking emails. So if you want to be on the know to when the Grim Reaper 2 and the other stories that are coming with this campaign, definitely sign up for that as well.
Let me go ahead and get over there, and I will pull that up.
Subscribe, guys. We are launching soon.
Okay, let me drop that in the comments here.
Somebody's asking on the chat if you went to our school.
Oh no, I never like had a drawing class. Never ever. Of course I learned from YouTube and watched tons of tutorials and just practice. It's very funny when people tell you, like mostly like your family or people that surround you, oh, you have so much talent. Well, this is actually, maybe there's a little bit of talent, but a lot of practice and hard work and doing it over and over and over and over again. I think that's like the most important part. Like talent is just a little bit. But thank you so much, Madman. This is for you.
Yeah, Mutt's got he's got his book Hero, HRRO. I was following them for a while back. Are you guys? I think they're getting close to getting ready to close that one down. But that one that's another one. I need to bring you guys on and talk to you guys about. But okay, so we got Grim Reaper 2 here. Second issue would take you to new adventure settings in mysterious, uncharted territories. Sign up now. So we got a couple of frames here. Now these are his children, correct? These are the ones with the red skin.
Are his children. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And there's actually a banner. If you scroll up a little bit, maybe you could see that's one of my favorite scenes from the book. And
you should say also like the spin-off cover.
Yeah, we like I said, we're also doing I don't know if we call that on the live stream, but in this campaign, in the Grim Reaper 2, along with the Grim Reaper 2 with issue 2, we're also gonna make a issue 1 with a variant cover, so a different cover from what the previous campaign had, and also a spin-off story involving characters from the Grim Reaper universe that we know from the Grim Reaper, but focusing on a different story arc and things like that. So we have a lot of good prizes for people on this campaign number. Man, people are going to be really surprised. We're going to try some new that I really haven't seen anybody try it. Or maybe, but I don't check every single campaign that's out there. But this is very unique in my opinion, because not only are we putting out all of these different books available for people at a super reasonable price. You know what I mean? But also at the same time, we are going to be, selling different merch shirts and things like that. And one of the perks that we're going to have, can I tell it?
Yeah.
It's going to be a secret box. It's going to be a secret box with.
It's called Pandora's box.
It's going to be Pandora's box because actually there is quite a bit of mythology, Greek mythology in the Grim Reaper 2. So we call it Pandora's box because of that. But basically, what this thing is going to have lots of merch and books. You have lots of merchandise and books, and you're not going to know what it is in there. You're just going to get it and be happy. I promise. We're not going to just send you coal or rocks, but we're going to send you stuff. And yeah, we're taking some risk with this campaign, and I think this is because with the Grim Reaper one, like I said, it was a great learning experience. We definitely did our best. We did it with all of our hearts. We learned a lot from the Grim Reaper one, and we are putting all that knowledge into the Grim Reaper two, and into all the upcoming projects. And it shows. It shows in the art. It shows in the writing, and it shows in the way we are setting up our campaign. So definitely be on the look for that one. It's coming soon. That
and this is
going to be the
this is the
that's the work in progress.
Okay, so this is going to be an add-on, right?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't want to. We were cutting over top each other a little bit. I didn't want to go over top of you, but this is the cover for one of the add-on stories you're doing for Grim Reaper 2.
Yes. So that's a spin-off. Yeah, and that one is actually part of the like I was telling you, the Grim Reaper takes us to periods of history and things throughout history. So this is actually happening to the Romanov family in pre-Soviet Russia, and it involves the Mad Monk of Siberia, Rasputin, his friend, and an artifact from the Green Reaper that allows you to live forever, so long as you are wearing it. So it's a really cool story. I don't know if you're familiar with the story of Rasputin, but they tried pretty much everything.
Oh God, yeah.
They shot him, they drowned him, they poisoned him, nothing worked. And so my take on it is that the Green Reaper gave him something to kind of keep him safe. And until they were able to take that off, he couldn't die. And they passed that on to someone else, and the story continues and the adventure continues. And we'll have sexy ladies in it. We'll have crazy drunk Russians in it.
Crazy drunk. That pretty much describes Rasputin, man. Crazy drunk Russian.
Crazy drunk Russians, magic, and the Grim Reaper in it. Can't go wrong with it. Definitely sign up, man. You're gonna love it.
That's awesome.
I want to make grandmas with huge guns.
Yeah, we can do that.
And the Dream Hulk at the same time.
Let's put grandmas in there. Let's do it.
There you go. What would you, being like you guys, you're working together, obviously you guys enjoy working together, but what would be your dream collaboration? Like if you could work with one particular creator, one particular artist or writer, who would it be?
That's not her, because that was my first pick.
It better be besides her. Yeah.
Well, I gotta say, man, Ethan Discovery is a great artist, man. He is a great artist, and he just makes everything just look so gorgeous. Vinny Tartamella too. Not only is he a good friend, because I gotta tell you, he is a great friend, but his art is out of this world, and he is just so what's the word I'm looking for? He has such a variety of styles that he can pick and choose from, and all of them come out right.
Like he's a versatile artist.
Versatility. He has a lot of that. You know what I mean? And I haven't seen that really. I mean, you have that, but you don't see that too often. You don't see artists that can just do so many wide variety and range of styles and do them all on point.
Yeah, it's a lot of times you get an artist who's really, really good at one particular thing. Like they're really good at doing like a noir style, or they're really good at doing like superheroes. But if you put them into like a fantasy setting or something like that, it just doesn't quite fit. It doesn't quite gel.
You know what sold it for me is that he had a children's book, and that man, I'll tell you, I gotta tell you that. I forgot what it was. It the Howling Hill, something about the Howling Hill.
Secret Mansion.
Yeah, the Secret Mansion, something like that. But it just looks so good, and the characters are so well designed and everything. And it's still a children's book. He hasn't lost that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but how he can dominate so well styles that are so different. You have to do a lot of research and practice a lot, because you always tend to do something the way that is more comfortable and easy for you as an artist. But he can actually do things in different ways and be good at all of them. So I really admire that from him. It's really cool.
like that's one of the things that RT Bear is doing right now, where he did Black and White, which is like the standard comic book superhero style, and now he's doing Chrono Mechanics, which is just cartoony, almost. It's gorgeous, man, and art like. Inking is a friggin' art form, man. I'm gonna tell you right now. Like Jim Lee is one of my biggest influences. He's my favorite comic book artist of all time. He owes a tremendous amount of his success to Scott Williams. because and like, you know, from that, as you know, talking to Carla, one artist from another, inking is hard. Inking is really hard, especially doing it well. But Carla, if you could if there was one artist or one creator you could work with, who would it be?
You mean writer or another artist, or
like if you could just, like, you know, work with another artist or another or a particular writer, who would it be?
Well, I actually believe that we think the same. Like, we talk about stuff and we agree. So I would say exactly the same as you said.
Well, if he gave you a pass and said, "Hey, it's okay, go ahead."
Oh yeah, I would say the same. Like, artist-wise, I would say the same. As for writers, well, I think that's harder, but well, it's very hard. I have to think about that.
So I didn't mean to put you. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, but yeah, we'll put a pin in that one for the next time. So anyway, speaking of Comicsgate, you guys said that you are Comicsgate. One of the things that I've found is that when you ask 10 different people what Comicsgate is, you get 10 different answers. So what is Comicsgate to you?
Comicsgate to me is the new punk rock of comics. All right, it's a revolution and
good answer.
Yeah, it's
so poetic.
Yeah, I know. You know, Comicsgate to me is it's a way to walking away from the mainstream and making the indie, you know, cool, and pretty much making the indie become the mainstream, because that's basically what is happening. You know, you look at sales from the big two, you look at sales from comic shops, unfortunately, and I think crowdfunding is doing a lot better.
The Art of Read says, "Hey, hey, hey." Okay. Hey. Yeah. The business practices of the big two have definitely something that I think really influenced the rise of Comicsgate. The fact that and the added benefit of the fact that not only can you create your own products, but you get to keep them. They're yours. You know, like if you want to create any kind of licensing off of it or whatnot, all that goes to you. So it's a power to the creators movement in my particular opinion. But okay, I'm
you don't have to ask for permission. You just do things that you actually like, and people naturally will like it too, because no filters, there's no agendas.
Yeah.
It's just
I mean,
you can create for creating's sake.
Yeah, I always love, and it's funny because if I said it, people wouldn't believe it. Good thing is I show you the email, right? I show you the email where we got rejected a few times from different.
A few times. I would say all of
them. We were rejected a lot of times, and one, you know, for various reasons, mostly because people don't want to take risk on characters that are unknown and things like that. And it wasn't from the Grim Reaper that we got rejected. It was a side project we're working on that we're no longer working on it, at least until further notice. But one of the things that really stuck with me, and that's why I said, like, you know, forget these people. We're going our own way, and we're doing this our own way. Was an email that I remember showing you, where this lady basically told me, that, you know, what mattered most. I mean, it's not what she said, but what I understood from her email was that what mattered most to her was not so much the comic and the content of what I was sending her, but more of my identity. You know, what was I? Was I a black woman of you know, the LGBT?
It was like, how underprivileged are you? Yeah. Are you a woman? Are you black? Are you Latino?
Right.
Are you
is there anything about you that should make it appealing for me to buy this from you?
And yeah, I'm producing a good book. That's what should be appealing to you.
Right. And that's when I said, these people are completely out of touch to what this is supposed to be about.
Yeah.
No wonder their sales are so bad. Why do you care about my race, gender, or sexual preference, or anything like that? It doesn't matter in the least.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I said, I stopped trying, and I was like, I'm gonna stop messaging all these people and let's look into crowdfunding. And that's really when we discovered Comicsgate. Before there were some YouTubers I heard, like your boy Zach and all those people, and obviously they're big. And I was like, okay, yeah, that looks cool, and I'm glad that people are doing that. But I was like, that seems like too impossible for us. You know what I mean? We have no audience, nobody knows us. But we just went ahead and started just building this little community. You know what I mean? Just and from one person that we knew, that eventually before we knew it, we were at the center of Comicsgate, and we pretty much know almost everybody that's a creator in Comicsgate, and
Yeah, it's kind of like, it really does kind of remind me of the early Image days, where it's anytime you have something new that comes on the scene like that, it's gonna you're gonna have clashes.
Right.
You're gonna have people that are like, you're trying to, you're our enemy, whatever, what have you. I really think that in the next couple of years, they're going to just realize that this is just it's an attempt to empower the independent movement.
Right.
And I think that you're starting to see a lot of creators, even in the mainstream, who are beginning to come around to that idea. I mean, you see guys like Dan Fraga and Billy Tucci are out here, and they're getting, like, Billy Tucci just exploded with his new my brain is not wanting to work. His new Shia project, which I love that character. I remember that character back when it first came out. But he's coming up on $200,000 funded for that. You couldn't do that 10 years ago.
No.
You'd be lucky to get $10,000. And then you've got like obviously the CG books. Ethan's pushed over $1 million. And even the smaller books, most of these smaller books would never even seen the light of day.
Mm-hmm.
So you're seeing this trickle down effect of the indie movement getting all of this attention, and people beginning to realize you don't have to sell your properties to these bigger companies. You can keep them yourself and make them yourself.
Right. Right. And then after it gets in the name itself, go Kickstarter, it's everything. It's just to give you that initial push, so that after that you can make it on your own. And that's pretty much what's happening here. Obviously there's going to be a future for the Grim Reaper in comic book shops. There's going to be a future for the Grim Reaper in Etsy. There's going to be a future for the Grim Reaper in IndiePlan. There's going to be a future for the Grim Reaper in all these things, and it's all thanks to the people who supported us in the first place.
That's awesome. Well, that's pretty much all the questions I got. I was hoping that I would get some questions from the chat, but they were asking them as we were talking. So we pretty much hit all those. Yeah, real quick, I'm just going to ask the chat: does anybody have any questions for Carla and John here before we sign off? Give it a second there. Man, I'm choking to death. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
Okay, I think everybody they pretty much blew their wad there, but okay. Well, I appreciate you guys being here today. Thank you to everybody that showed up. Thanks for all the questions we had. I wish you guys nothing but success for your next campaign, and when you get your next campaign done, we'll bring you back on, and you guys can we can do this again.
Absolutely, we'll love to. Thank you for having us again. This means a lot. And
thank you for being here. Bye. Also, thanks everybody who did stop in. Everybody that does watches this video later. All the information there, the Carla and John's social media is in the description. The link to Grim Reaper's there. I'll drop the link to the Grim Reaper 2 pre-launch.
Thank you. Yeah, just go ahead and sign up for the email list. And remember, the Grim Reaper 1 is still in demand. You still can get it with the old cover. And it will be in demand until we launch campaign number 2. So take advantage of that. It's there's still time. Get your copy while it lasts. There's a lot of interesting and cool perks there for you to grab and for you to get. So yeah, take advantage of that. Definitely, you won't regret.
Cool. Thank you very much, guys. Also, guys, hit like, share this out. Helps the channel grow, and we will see you guys Tuesday, I believe. Everybody, take care. Have a good night.
Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.